Welcome, everybody, to a Take 5 here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Louis Sung, and I'm here to talk to you about the Christian Wilkins saga that's going to be happening very, very soon. The deadline is coming up for when the Miami Dolphins have to decide whether or not they're going to use their franchise tag on Christian Wilkins. And if I am the Miami Dolphins, I'm not even going to let it get to that point. The very first thing that I need to do if I am Chris Greer and Brandon Shore is I need to figure out a way to free up the necessary cap space to give Christian Wilkins the extension that he so rightfully deserves. The Miami Dolphins have had Christian Wilkins on their team for quite some time now. They've already had him play on his fifth-year option. Now it's time to go ahead and see what we can do as far as a long-term extension. We did this whole game last season. I was saying before the season started, 2023, that the Miami Dolphins needed to find a way to keep Christian Wilkins long-term. And whatever price tag that he was looking for, and I don't know what the difference was in their negotiations that led to them not making a deal get done, but I feel like right now, Christian Wilkins has earned his money, and if the Miami Dolphins are smart, they're going to keep their hands on him, because this is a little reminder for everybody. This is what I was saying when I was making the case last season when Christian Wilkins was about to go through these negotiations. So in 2021, here we go. This is what I use to go ahead and use as my examples for why this guy deserves it. In 2021, Christian Wilkins, among all defensive linemen, not just defensive tackles, defensive linemen in general, led the NFL in the regular season with 56 total tackles. He was actually tied, according to Pro Football Focus, with Cameron Hayward, but Cameron Hayward is obviously a little bit of a different person, and he had a lot more snaps. He had over 200 more snaps than Christian Wilkins did. So it took him 200 more snaps, Cameron Hayward, to reach Christian Wilkins' number in 2021. So take that into account. And he had 5 sacks, by the way. Christian Wilkins had 5 sacks of his own that year, so you can add that on there. Then in 2022, once again, it happens again. Christian Wilkins, 69 tackles, leads all defensive linemen in the NFL, regardless of whether they're an end or whether they are tackled, doesn't matter. Christian Wilkins, 69 tackles. Again, he adds on 5 sacks of his own. But the main point that you're seeing here is that Christian Wilkins is all over the place. He's incredible at making the tackle, getting inside the line of scrimmage, making sure that he's just terrorizing people, whether it's running backs, quarterbacks. He's always getting in there. And by the way, just as a minor note, Zach Sealer was actually number 4 that year in tackles with 49. So those two together, once again, proving to be a dangerous tandem. And then 2023, right? This is the year that we're saying, oh, well, he's not worth all this money because he's not getting the sack numbers. Watch this. So in 2023, Christian Wilkins did not lead the NFL among all defensive linemen in tackles. He was actually number 9, tied with Jonathan Allen. He had a total of 39 tackles. However, watch this. Christian Wilkins, number 5. He's tied for 5th with 10 sacks. That's 10 sacks. So that means that he got more than all these other dudes who got paid. He got more than Quinnen Williams, who had 6. He had more than Dexter Lawrence, who had 6. He had more than Jeffrey Simmons, that had 6. All these guys that we were looking at and saying, this is the guy that we are trying to compare Christian Wilkins to. Well, he didn't get as many sacks as these other guys. Now Christian Wilkins had so many more sacks than these guys that now it's hard to justify not paying him top defensive tackle money. You have to do it at this point. And I don't know how the Dolphins are going to pull it off. I don't know how the Dolphins are going to figure it out, but they need to, because not only is Christian Wilkins the heartbeat of this defense, he is somebody who is so versatile in what he's able to do. He can rush from the edge. He can go up the middle. He can do anything. And not to mention just the psychological aspects of it. Christian Wilkins makes a lot of players mad on the offensive side of the ball, and he just has a way of getting them to do stupid things that they really shouldn't do, and that helps the Dolphins during the game. Now, grant you, sometimes he does some things that gets the Dolphins in a little bit of hot water, but only because maybe he pushes it just a little too far. He'll learn the balance of that over time, or maybe he won't. And honestly, I feel like the pros outweigh the cons when it comes to Christian Wilkins. Now, just the real sticking point for this whole thing. It was actually new defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver who talked about how players who excite him and the idea of being able to work with them. He mentioned a few guys by name. He talked about Zach Sealer, who's already signed to an extension, Jalen Phillips, who's still in his rookie contract, Bradley Chubb signed to the Miami Dolphins new contract when he was traded here, and Christian Wilkins. Now, how are you going to keep Christian Wilkins and work with him if you don't have plans on retaining him? That's the thing that catches me the most. Anthony Weaver, I believe, is going to make a case to say that Christian Wilkins needs to stay in Miami, and I, for one, am all for it. So that's going to be it. You can follow me at Louis D. Sung. Make sure you're checking out more Take 5s here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. As time goes on, we're going to be doing a lot more of these, so stay tuned.